Hello everyone, my name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to another one of my album reviews. So everyone, I screwed up on my last Alice Cooper review. I usually go back and check which albums I've reviewed before I review them to make sure I don't do a duplicate review. And I screwed up with Easy Action because I didn't put in my Alice Cooper playlist. I just put it in the 1970s playlist for reviews, and because of that, when I did a quick check on my phone to go see if I had done it or not, it didn't show up. So I did that one twice, and because they both have enough views on it to say, okay, I'm not going to go through and delete, and if I deleted the older one versus the newer one, it would throw off, so I'm not doing all that. I left them both up. I've just unlisted, or well, not unlisted, but I should unlist the other one. Yeah, I think I might do that. It's just unlist the old one. Anyways, not the point. The point is, because of that, I'm doing something special for this one. We're going to do Alice Cooper's Hey Stoopid, which I have had so long, which I'll get into, that I've lost the cover, and I lost the cover a long time ago. But that's okay because technically there's the cover right there. The only difference is I don't have the book. Anyways, but this is the Alice Cooper Snakes and Dead Babies maxi single double CD set. So I'm going to cover this as a bonus to go with this. All right. So this album was released in 1991. This was the first Alice Cooper CD I bought. But it was like the 13th or 14th CD I bought because the cassette the album came out right before I got a CD player, and I bought the album the day it came out, which means I bought it on cassette. So I wasn't thrilled about having to go back and rebuy it, so I'd have it on CD. But CD is cool, man, and having the cassette wasn't bad because I used the Walkman all the time. This album here, man, Hey Stoopid. This album got me through a rough patch, a great patch of my life, man. This album was the soundtrack of my life for a while. And I just absolutely, to this day, still love this album. And it's part of it's nostalgia. Part of it is this is just a really well-made album, like an incredibly well-made album. It's got a bunch of guest stars on it, and it's definitely overproduced, which is why a lot of the songs honestly don't get played live because of all the production that went into the album. And that being said, Peter Collins is the person who produced this album. Peter Collins did a fantastic job putting this album together. All right. We got the song Hey Stoopid on here. This was the big breakout single. Fantastic song from beginning to end. It was a great way to lead off that album. To this day, it still gets me psyched. Weirdly enough, I'm not a fan of when it's played live because they play the tape. I think what the band should do is get everybody out there going, hey, 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 hey. Hi, hi. I think getting the crowd getting louder and just really pumping up the crowd till they get to a loud enough point, and then crack in the hey, hi, 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 stupid. I think that's the way they should do it. I don't think they should roll the tape at the beginning. That's me. If I were in the band with Alice, I'd be begging Alice to try to do it that way. But other than that, man, I love that song. Love's a Loaded Gun. Okay, so I do, okay, based on the fact that you got I'm Your Gun off of the Trash album, which is complete, giant penis gun innuendo. Love's a Loaded Gun is kind of a cool juxtaposition to that. Now, interesting thing, if you're one of my regular viewers, you know I hate ballads. But this album is got the most amount of slow songs of any Alice Cooper album that was ever released. I swear to God it does. But they all work because they're not, well, some of them are kind of ballads. Love's a Loaded Gun gets really close into that ballad territory. Not quite there, but really close. Then you're on a snake bite. Snake bites, kind of your cliche, over the top, innuendo, sex. Sex was a real big seller back then. Now, the one thing, this album's got a lot of sex on it, but unlike the Trash album, the sex stuff on this album is definitely feels a lot more tongue in cheek in most cases. I like a lot of the crude innuendos because that comes up too, stuff like that. Um, but there are definitely, it's definitely done a lot more tasteful than it was done on the Trash album. And I'll just leave it at that. Burning Our Bed. Okay, so this would definitely be the first one of the true ballads on this one. And I am not a fan of Burning Our Bed. It's okay. I get it. It's definitely one of those ones that's written a lot more to appeal, I think, more to girls than to guys. Guys really don't think so much about burning the bed. They just go and buy a new one, kind of thing, whatever. Um, I think that's an imagery that appeals definitely more towards women. Then we get into Dangerous Tonight, which is really dark, gritty, slow, great build up in it, man. I mean, just really kind of. And then when it kind of comes down on you, it comes down nice and hard, not overly fast, not overly thunderous, just nice and hard. And it really, I mean, great album cut. I mean, really great album cut. Okay, then you get to what I would argue is Alice Cooper's greatest ballad ever, without a doubt. It's definitely even up there in my all-time favorite Alice Cooper songs. Maybe not top 10, could be top 20. 100% in the top 50 for sure. And we are talking about Might As Well Be on Mars. Oh, this song is just so beautiful and sexy, man. This was, if I remember correctly, a Dick Wagner co-penned. Yes. Alice Cooper, Dick Wagner, and Desmond Childs. Now, I have actually, in fact, heard the Dick Wagner demo. I know where this song came from. And I know how much Alice and Desmond Child added to this song and where the changes that they added were. And this is the one thing I am so thankful for, having a buddy like Don Richard, got to hear all this cool shit, man. So, because of that, I am going to tell you right now, man, Might As Well Be on Mars is honestly a Dick Wagner song. End of story on that one. And the original version is really cool, really great. It's not this album version. This album version is definitely, the cherry production that is this album. All right, after that, we get into something nice and dirty because we need something nice and dirty and get you up there and get your blood flowing, make you feel alive. And we are talking Feed 'em My Frankenstein. Another thing where I don't mind that they roll the tape for the yes, yes, I know you are hungry. Ah, and here comes dinner. I don't mind that they roll the tape for that. That's okay. Because they really do. They just kind of drop it into the feet. When they get to the feet of my, they drop the tape and, they do the thing. And it, as much as I kind of grown tired of hearing this song live, because there was only one tour I could have gone to before this album came out. I had tickets for it. It was during the Trash tour. Had tickets for it, and unfortunately, due to a family emergency, I wasn't able to make it to the concert. So, Feed My Frankenstein has literally been played at every show since then. Okay, I have seen it every time I have seen Alice Cooper. He has played Feed My Frankenstein. I am 99.9% positive of that. And it's usually so you can pick out the Big Frankenstein. And I won't take it out of the show. I mean, it's a great thing what he does with it. I mean, you know what's coming every time now. It's become that much a part of the show that you know what it is, what's coming, and how he introduces it is always a little bit different. I think Brutal Planet was the best way to go into it, but that Pick Up the Bones going into Feed My Frankenstein was great. Well, beautiful choreographed production. Feed My Frankenstein, though, lyrically is just it's Alice lyrically. It's what I would call Alice Cooper's "Walk This Way." You know, just nothing but crude innuendo. Um, okay, then we get into one of my favorite songs off this album, and one of my just kind of favorite Alice Cooper songs in general. Like this album spawns quite a few of my favorite big time. Hurricane Years would probably be a top 100, and with Alice Cooper, a top 100 is still kind of hard to put together. There's a lot of music to cover there. That'd be fun. I should try that as an exercise one day. All right, Hurricane Years. Um, I just Hurricane Years is literally the perfect teenage song. It's I really think Alice should have kept it in the set list over the years. I really think it should have been put in there, worked in a little more. I think it's one of the songs that definitely could be played off of this album, and you don't have to worry about the production on it because it's one of those songs that it really has the lyrically, it's got that timeless message, man. Every kid knows what it's like to go through the hurricane years in one form or another, okay? For some kids, it's different than others, you know, and some definitely have it worse than others, without a doubt. But like every teenage kid knows what it's like to go through the hurricane years, and Hurricane Years is one of those songs that really should come back out again. I really, really think it should. Uh, After that, we get into Little by Little, which is a great album cut. Little by little, we cross the line. Oh, oh. I mean, this album in general, like every song on this album could have easily have been a single. I'm going to be completely honest with you. There is no bad song on this album, just songs that I'm not a big fan of. And Little by Little is just another great produced album cut. Die For You is another slow song. Um, this one's definitely I like it because of the production. The production on it is just beautiful. It's an amazingly put together song on this album. I really think that yeah, it's just that it's an amazingly put together song. You know, beautiful ballad. I really enjoy it. From there, we go into Dirty Dreams. And this, oh my God. Okay, so as much as people rag on Feed by Frankenstein for how crude and dirty it can be, Dirty Dreams, oh my God. I love Dirty Dreams, man. The 12-year-old, you know, going in, you know, rocking that hardcore hormonal imbalance, you know, just dirty, yeah, yeah. Just, it's nothing but a great freaking honor writing. Put a smile on your face, dirty joke. Absolutely fantastic. Not a song you would necessarily want to put on the radio, especially nowadays. People are way too sensitive for that crap. But yeah, oh, absolutely. Pardon me, sorry. And then we finish up the album with Wind Up Toy. And I absolutely, totally love this song to this day. It's one of my all time favorite songs. It definitely is my top 10 Alice Cooper, 100% for sure. Um, Another one where, you know, a lot of kids are going to definitely, not every kid's going to feel this one, but a lot of kids are going to, I felt this one, man. This one got right to me as a kid, and I absolutely, without a doubt, love Wind Up Toy. Oh my God. Just fantastic. And it's a great way to close out the album. And I love the fact that it closes out the album with that little nod back to the day with Steven. And I have been working on a Steven project. It's taking a little time to get together. Eventually, it will get released where I talk about, you know, the life and times of Steven, the Alice Cooper character, and eventually that means I have to come back around to at least that particular song. Um, the whole way around, I think this is one of Alice's greatest albums. it is definitely a great album because of the production. The production is what made this album. Up until the 2000s, the early 2000s, this definitely was a top 5 album for me. It might still be a top 5 album for me. I'd really have to sit down and really look at it because Killer Love It to Death and Dada suck up my top 3 right there. And there are so many amazing other albums in there now that I don't know if this one holds enough to make the top 5 or not still. And it's funny because those 3 albums would still be released before then, but since then, since this album's come out, Along Came a Spider came out, which was just, to me, absolutely brilliant. Detroit Stories came out, which was absolutely brilliant. Brutal Planet was another one that was absolutely brilliant. I don't know. I wouldn't put Brutal Planet above this one. That's for sure. But arguably, I could put Detroit Stories or Along Came a Spider before this one, just for various different reasons. But this really, to me, is... Alice has been very lucky with his career. The fact that he had such a great, strong career in the 70s, closed out the 80s with arguably one of his most successful albums, which was Be Trash. And then in the night, he opens up the 90s with another album that was just absolutely stellar and phenomenal. The downside, and then came the Last Temptation album, which I've already covered. But that's not the point. The point is, he got that great time period, and then, there was that fade out again. And then he comes back in the 2000s, not once, but twice, with phenomenal killer rebirths or rebrandings or whatnot, or not to the same success level as what he would have hit with Trash or Hey Stoopid, but the success was there. Okay, so how do I feel about the Hey Stoopid album? Well, I think I've made that very clear. Do I think you should own the Hey Stoopid album? Absolutely. Do I think it's a good spot to start with Alice Cooper? Yeah, if you started with the Hey Stoopid album, that's not a bad spot to start with Alice Cooper. Do I think it's the best spot to start with Alice Cooper? No, I think you should start with Love It to Death or Killer and then move on to Hey Stoopid. But you should definitely check out Hey Stoopid. It is a must-own for Alice Cooper as far as I'm concerned. Moving on. Snakes and Dead Babies, the Hey Stoopid maxi single. Why am I going to tag this onto that? Well, obviously it's the Hey Stoopid single. Now, the single for Hey Stoopid on here has Hey Stoopid and Wind Up Toy. All right. Then it has another track, which outside of this single, I have never seen it available anywhere else. And it's called It Rained All Night. I believe this was one of the tracks. All right. My understanding is when Alice Cooper's assistant Renfield was putting together the Life and Crimes of Alice Cooper box set, there were a lot of problems trying to get the music from Sony/Epic, which would be Trash, Hey Stoopid, and Last Temptation. There was a lot of runaround. I think they were asking for a lot more money than like Warner Brothers was for all the other back catalog stuff like that, and it was really kind of a problem. That's my understanding. I don't know how true that is, so I think that might be the reason why It Rained All Night was left out of the box set. Now, It Rained All Night is a really good shining example of why singles were important, why B-sides are important. If this song had been left on the Hey Stoopid album, which is when it was recorded, what it was recorded for, it would have been too much. It would have caused a disruption in the flow of that album no matter where you put it. There was not a good way or a good spot to put this song. So it was left off the album, which to me was smart, was really good. And putting it on here as a single is great because the song should be out there in distribution. It is a good song. It's an album cut. Let's be very clear. I mean, it's not a song like I think's really missing and the world should hear. Well, maybe the world should hear, but the world should hear it just to make up their own mind. But it's not, it's not like a huge world class song. It's not a hit single or anything like that. But it is definitely a single. And Alice has released some great B-side singles over the years. And unfortunately, it's something I don't think record companies have taken enough advantage of. And especially in the 90s, they didn't. When compact disc came out, CD singles should have been pushed like crazy. It would have. $5 for this single, you would have got people. If you would have got one of the ultra slim cases, even this size case, it doesn't matter. Simple paper insert, like what's actually in here, nothing special. You didn't even have to go this far. You could have done the same insert that was done on the Snakes and Dead Babies part, okay? Throw it in a case, 3 songs on it, charge like $5. People would have paid it. You know how I know people would have paid it? Because people paid that for Metallica ones. They paid more for Metallica ones. The singles that came out during the Load and Reload era, people were just eating them up. The problem is the companies and the marketing and crap like that, they did bad jobs of it. And they blundered it. So the Hey Stoopid single could have been a really good single if the companies, I think, would have marketed better, would have put a little more marketing into it, and not just relied on Alice's name or the Wayne's World movie to help put sales in for that. Now, as for the actual Snakes and Dead Babies album, which is an interview, it doesn't have any specific data on here. It is copyrighted in 1991 by Tabak Marketing Limited. It's about a 30-minute interview, but it was definitely, by comments that are made in it, things that are said during the interview, it was definitely recorded during the Constrictor tour, most likely. If it wasn't the Constrictor tour, it would have been the Rage and Fist and Yell tour. One or the other. But it sounds like it's Constrictor. Either way, it was during the MCA days. There's certain comments on there where, not that they're, taking shots at MCA, it's just Alice mentioning MCA, who had those albums. So it's interesting to hear all the talking about MCA on, a bonus compact combo. I don't know who released this. I do know that I bought it in Quebec, in Montreal. I ran across it in a store. I believe this came from the HMV, not the Music World, but it could have been from the Music World. I'm not sure. In downtown Montreal, there used to be 3 music stores right in downtown core of their main shopping street in Montreal, and sadly they're all gone now, I think. But this came from one of those. This would have been bought probably around the same time I would have picked up the King Diamond, or not King Diamond, the Diamond Head Lightning to the Nations album. Anyways, so on to the interview. The interview is for people that are in interviews, and that was a thing for a while. I know a lot of people still collect interviews, because different interviews, you might find the odd different thing. This interview in particular, I find it interesting. If you've ever seen Super Duper Alice Cooper, you find out that in the early 80s, Alice had a really bad issue with the magic dust. You know, Alice wasn't allowed to build a snowman, or had to stop building snowmans because he was bleeding from his eyes from way too many snowmen. Uh, so it's interesting because every interview I've ever heard, I had no clue until Super Duper Alice Cooper that I'd heard rumors, but nothing ever to substantiate Alice's issues with the magic white powder. And because of that, and because of this interviews like this specifically, Alice always blamed his drinking as a problem. Always, 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 always. But the drinking kind of stopped being a problem after 78, and then cocaine became the problem. And it's really intriguing to hear him just blame the drinking all the time. But it's cool, you get to hear him talk about, you know, being sober Alice and what it's like performing as sober Alice and why Alice is never there before shows with the opening bands and stuff like that. Gets into that. Gets into there's a bunch of things in there. They talk about movies in general, horror movies, science fiction movies, stuff like that. Nightmare or Friday the 13th Part 6 Jason Lives would have been, part of the topic of discussion with this because it would have been, the Constrictor album that was out, talking about doing promotional stuff like that, right? So it's a 30-minute interview where there is some interesting stuff in there. But overall, is it anything that I think you need to rush out and go get? No, not necessarily. I know I paid too much for this back in the day, especially considering it was back in the 90s I bought it. And I definitely know I paid too much for it back in the 90s, but I was a stupid fan. Of course I did. Nowadays, you're going to pay a stupid amount because, it's going to fall under that collector's item kind of thing, right? Especially to get it as a double CD set. And it's even got this. I don't think it works anymore. Oh no, that's the gripper part. The one thing that's kind of cool about this is the way it was designed to open. It's got these little grips on the side, which is something that was never taken advantage enough. And the case is even slightly different with the way it splits. But it makes it really cool for being able to access it different ways. That's something that, should have been looked into more. If record companies had been smart and released a lot more stuff like this in the 90s, I think they would have made a lot more money. Like I said, the single that was in here, the 3 songs, they could have done that for $5 on a slim case, minimal release packaging, and I think it would have sold great. I think fans would have went out and bought it. I think just people who wanted just Hey Stoopid would have went out and bought it. I could see that going into, well, if it was a record player, I could see jukeboxes, but by the time CD player jukeboxes came out, they didn't use singles, they used the full CD, which might have been a mistake there too, I think, maybe. But I think this should have been in there. I think this would have been a good choice. And then this, as a combo, back in the day, it should have been 10, maybe $15. I probably paid 20 to 25. Was it worth 20 to 25? To me, as a collector, yes. To any collector, yes. Outside of that, that's about where I am on that. Okay, folks. So, let's wrap this up. Hey, Stoopid, you should own it. You gotta own it. It is a absolutely amazing album. This one, if you come across it for the right price, if you're into it enough, get it. Myself, I will never get rid of it purely for It Rained All Night. I think I've listened to the interview maybe 3 or 4 times total in my life of having this CD, and I've had this CD well over 20 years now. It Rained All Night, though, I know has gone on to mixtapes and stuff like that over the years. I haven't listened to it too much before I did this review. It's been a while, definitely. But with it being a single, it kind of makes sense, right? All right, folks. Let me know what you think. Leave me a line down below in the comments. That's what the comments is for. If you've made it this far, please, on your way down the comments, check the description. There is a link to the TWA, which is Trampoline Wrestling Association. Brand new season should be out soon if it isn't out already. There's a link to the Howling Odyssey, which is where my music endeavors go. There is a link to Patreon, which is where you can go to help support me, download stuff, etc., etc. A like button, a subscribe button, a bell for notifications. If you'd hit those for me, I'd really appreciate that. Otherwise, peace, love, take care.